Hey, Tim Unkert here. In this video, we're going to make a worksheet where students will add fractions. So we have to get a common denominator, and that's going to be an interesting challenge. And we're going to do it in Python, write to HTML files, and again, use the browser to convert those to PDF, and I'll put those up on Teacher Pay Teachers. This latter strategy is similar to some of the other videos I've had, but I think the issue here will be finding that common denominator. So in the fraction class that I'm going to create, we're going to have to create a couple of methods to do that. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a directory, and I'm going to call that fraction addition. And I'm going to cd into fraction addition, and I'm going to create three files, a main.py, a lists.py, and a fractions.py. Okay. I'm going to use Neovim today. I'm experimenting with it a little bit, so I'm going to switch into the main.py file. All right, so we're going to import OS. We're going to import sys. We are going to also, import random. Okay. We're also going to say sys.path.append, and then we'll append that, and that'll allow us to bring in the classes from the other files. Okay, so I'm going to say from lists, import list, and from fractions, import fraction. Okay. All right. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is say that rand is a list object. Okay, module that's bringing in. And what I'm going to do is we're now going to basically start to create some of the other files. So going to just save this and then say tab new lists.py, and also set the mouse equal to A here so we can use it. So now I can click back and forth. I probably need to put that in my init.vim file. So in my lists.py, I'm going to say class list, and I'm going to say a method of random list. And in that, I'm going to have a random number list, and that's just going to be an empty list. And I want numbers from 1 to 20, so I'm going to say for x in range 1 to 21. We're going to take the random number list and append x. Okay, and then at the end, we're going to return the random number list. Okay, and I'm going to save that file, and now I'm going to open the fractions.py file in a new tab. Okay, and I'm going to create a class called fraction, and I'm going to instantiate the class, and we'll pass in self, and then we'll have to have a numerator, first numerator, second numerator, a denominator, and another denominator, and I'm going to say self dot numerator 1 equals numerator 1. Paste that. Okay, and then I want to change these, so I'm just going to write 2, and then self dot denominator 1 equals denominator 1. Self dot denominator 2 equals denominator 2. Okay. All right. So we've got that, and I'm going to take a little bit of coffee here. And we're going to have to find the common denominator. So let's create a function for that. So a method for that. So common denominator. And we're going to pass in the self. And we'll say the common denominator is going to be denominator 1 times denominator 2. So I'm going to say common underscore den equals self dot denominator 1 times self dot denominator 2. Okay, and we'll return the common denominator. All right. Okay, so that function is good. Basically, the new numerator. So the new numerator 1, let's call it new numerator 1, we'll pass in the self, and that's going to be the new numerator, new NUM1, we'll call it that, is going to be self.numerator 1 times self.denominator 2. Okay, we'll return that. And we'll also have new numerator 2, and we'll say new underscore num 2 equals self dot numerator 2 times self dot denominator 1. Okay, and we'll return the new numerator 2. Okay, then we'll say sum of the numerators. So we'll create a function, the sum of the numerators, pass in self, and we'll say sum NUM is going to equal, let's see, self dot new numerator 1 plus self dot new numerator 2. Okay, and we're going to return sum num. Okay. All right. So that method is created. And these aren't necessarily reduced, though. Okay. So we're now going to find the greatest common factor. So we'll create that GCF, find GCF, and we'll say that GCF equals 1 to start. And then I'm going to do an if statement. I'm going to say if, let's say self dot, oops, there's something I forgot here. These are methods. So I've got to actually make them methods. Otherwise, that would be an issue. Okay, so now that we've done that, we're going to say self.sum numerators if that is greater than or equal to self.common denominator. What we're going to do is we are going to now basically we're going to go through a range. So we're going to say for x in range from 2, because we started the GCF at 1, so we want to increment up 1 from that, up to self.common denominator. We want to go to the lower one. For x in that range, what we're going to do is we are going to see if both of those are divisible by x, and if so, we're going to set the GCF equal to that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to say if self.sum numerators, if that modulo x equals 0, that means it's divisible by x, and then self.common denominator, if that is divisible by x, if both of those are, then what we're going to do is we are going to say that the GCF equals x. Okay. Now, if self dot, let's see, sum of the numerators, if that is less than or equal to self dot common denominator, then we're going to say for, let's do for y in range, starting from 2 again, to self dot sum of the numerators. We're going to say, again, the same statement. If self dot sum of the numerators, if that modulo x equals 0, and self dot common denominator, modulo x, if that equals 0, then we're going to say the GCF equals y, and we've got to change this to y. I didn't. I keep doing that. I want this to be y because we're going for y in that range, and this one to be y. Okay, and at the end of this, we are going to return the GCF. So if it meets neither of the if statements, it'll just return 1, and it won't be able to be reduced. If it meets one of those statements, it's going to return whatever x is, whatever that number is, and we can use that now to reduce the numerator and the denominator. So we're going to say def reduced numerator, pass in the self, and we'll say, I'll just call it RAD-NUM. That's going to equal self.sum of the numerators divided by x, and then we'll return that. Okay, and then we'll also say the reduced denominator. We'll pass in the self, and we'll say reduced denominator equals self dot common denominator. Divide that by, not x. I don't know why I put x here. Hold on. Just this should be self dot find GCF. It should be the whatever the GCF find GSCF function returns. Okay, and then self dot find GCF, whatever that returns. Okay, and then we'll return the reduced denominator. All right, so now we've got our fractions.py all set. I can go over here to my main.py with the mouse nicely. I've got the sun coming through, so you can't really see me, but whatever. It's more important what I'm doing here. So now let's start to create the files that we're going to write to. All right, so I'm going to say that we have a fraction addition file, and that's going to equal, we're going to open a file, let's call it frac dash add.html. Okay, and we'll append to that file. And then we'll have a fraction addition Spanish file, and we'll open and we'll say frac add-Spanish. I don't know if I like all these suggestions, .html. And we'll append to that, and then we'll also have a fraction add solution file. We're going to open a file, and we'll call it frac add solution.html, and we will append to that file. And all right, so okay, so we got some files that we're going to append to, and let's go from there. We'll start with our problem. So for a problem, I'm going to make 100 in range from 1 to 1 above that, 101. We're going to say that we have to come up with numerator 1 equals random.choice, and we'll pass in the rand.random list and paste it. Okay, and then we'll also do denominator 1 equals random.choice, and then we'll do rand.random list, and then denominator 2 equals random.choice, and then we'll do rand.random list. Okay, and we'll say that our new underscore problem, I've done this before, equals our fraction object when we pass in numerator 1, numerator 2, denominator 1, and denominator 2. Okay, and now we'll take our fraction addition file, and we'll start to write to it. So we'll start to write to our problems. So fraction addition file.write. Let's do an F string, and we'll say problem, and then we'll have the problem. And we want to write HTML to this, so I'm going to put this in an H2 tag, and I'm going to close out the H2 tag, and then have a /n to move to the next line. Let's yank and paste 2 more times, and we'll change this to the Spanish file, And this one will change to the solution file. Okay, I like that little feature. All right, so we've got the problem number. Now for the Spanish file, we should write problema, okay, because that's the proper Spanish for problem. And now we'll start to write the problem. So we'll say add and simplify, and then, all right, and then we'll go from there. So we'll write f string, we'll say add and simplify, and then we'll do a superscript tag, pass in numerator 1, close out the superscript tag, and do a slash for the fraction. And why did that indent that? That should not have done that. I want that to be over. All right. And then we'll do a fraction addition file. Whoops, went past it. Dot right. Okay, another f string. We'll write a subscript and then pass in denominator 1 and then close the subscript. Okay, and then we're going to have plus. Okay. Now we can still go on this line. Plus superscript, and then pass in numerator 2. Close the superscript, slash to move down to the next line. We don't need that space. But we actually, up here, we're going to need to open a paragraph tag. Okay. All right. And now we'll move down to the next line. We'll go right. And we will now have the subscript and then the denominator 2 and close the subscript. And then let's close the paragraph tag and do a slash n. Okay. So we should be good with that. And let's move up here, and then I will yank this and then paste it, and we're going to change this to the Spanish file. I just want to get rid of that. Oops. And there. All right. Now, of course, we want to change this. Okay, so we want to go English to Spanish, and we want to change add and simplify. Sumo y simplifica. I probably said that way wrong. Okay, so we're going to go up here and go delete that, and then just paste that in. And actually, don't need that. Okay. All right, so we got that. Now what I want to do is I want to basically create the solution, or write to the solution file, rather. So I'm going to pick my solution file. I'm going to write to it. I'm going to write an F string. I'm going to say, I want a paragraph to start, so I'm going to say solution. And we're going to have, that's an odd indent. I'm going to have a superscript, so I don't have to move that over. And then I'm going to pass in my new problem, dot, I want to do my reduced numerator. So reduced numerator method. Okay. And I want to close out that superscript. Okay. And I definitely want this over indented. Okay. I'm going to have to look into my settings there. I probably have something I need to fix. Because again, I'm just trying this out. Okay. And then we're going to do a slash and a substring, and then pass in the new problem dot reduced denominator, that method, and close out my substring, and then close out my paragraph. And so we'll say solution, we have the reduced numerator, the reduced denominator. Okay, and at the end of each of these files, I think what I want to do is I want to just write and do a horizontal rule just to add a line. And I'm going to change this to my Spanish file and this one to my solution file. And then I'm going to go out here and say, I'm just going to close my files. And close the Spanish file and then close the solution file. Okay, so we've saved all that. Let's open up a terminal. And let's now run this. So Python 3 main.py. And we got an error. So we got int object is not callable. Line 21 in some numerators. So fractions. Okay. So we'll go out and we'll exit this. And we'll go to fractions.py and line 21. So now I have to put new numerator here. Okay, so that's one issue. All right, so let's do a tab new and let's open up a terminal here. And what I want to do is now run that Python command again. It ran fine. So we've got these files created. I'm just going to exit out of here and I'm going to open up one of these files here. And here we go. Okay, so we've got our file, but because we ran into that error, it did write problem 1 and then it's appending, so it didn't erase it and rewrite. That's okay. So I'm going to open up a terminal here and I'm just going to get rid of the HTML files and then run it again. And I do that with rm-rf *.html. And now if I list out, I don't have them, and I can run Python 3 main.py again. Now I have them again, okay? So I can exit this and go back to this file. And now I can basically now create the top structure, but we don't need, I'm not gonna put this on the web. Well, I might put it on my 90s style blog, but I really don't need all the information up there. What I do need is some pre-formatted code where I have something like my name. Move over here, something like the date. And then move down here, we have something like so we have the name, the date. What else would we have? We'd have the teacher, maybe. Or teacher. Just teacher, let's just end it right there. And then let's go over here and we'd probably have maybe like the period or something. And let's do that. Okay. And then I'd close out my pre-formatted tag, and then I'd go up here and I might do some style. Insert bracket there. And in the style, I might say something like the body. I'm going to say that the margin left is 0.75 inches. And then I would also say the margin right is the same. And then I might also say something like, for the paragraph, let's make the font size 1.2 rem. And then let's close out our style tag. And let's go down here. I notice there might be one little issue, but we'll see. And we'll just make copyright information all right, and we got that. So let's open this up. So let's go to my Linux files, Python worksheets, fraction addition. Let's open this one up. And we see we've got our problem. So got 16 over 1 plus 10 over 12. So this should be 26 over 13, right? Which would simplify to 2 over 1. Let's see if our... Okay, I'm back. And apparently I didn't have enough coffee because I just added straight across 26 over 13. You obviously can't do that. This is going to be 16 times 12. So I have to find the common denominator. So the numerator is going to be 192 over 12 and plus 10 over 12, right? Because we're going to multiply this one by 1. So we're going to get 202 over 12, which is 101 over 6. Okay, so it was actually accurate. Now what I want to do is I want to clean this up because I ran it again and then it just appended again. So what I'm going to do is open up a terminal here and let's just remove the HTML files. Okay. And let's exit out of here and let's actually quit out of here because I want to, let's open this again. And then we'll go to here. We want to go to fractions.py. There's one thing I want to do. I want to go down to this one, and this one. Okay, so what I want to do is it's returning floats because we're dividing, right? And that makes sense. But I want to return an integer, okay? And so I want both of these to be integers, so I'm just going to pass in that. Okay. Now I'm going to open the terminal again. Let's list out. We don't. Okay. So now let's run it again. Okay, and let's exit from the terminal. And now we can open the fraction addition file. Obviously, we'd format this a little bit differently, but let's just check our solution. So our solution is 4 over 9, or our problem is 4 over 9 plus 8 over 2. So we're going to multiply this 2. It's going to be 8 over 18 plus 72 over 18. So it's going to be 80 over 18, which is 4.44. Now our solution should be reduced. And you'll see it's not integers anymore, to 40 over 9. So 80 over 18 does reduce to 40 over 9. You can tell that if I just do 40 divided by 9, we're going to get 4.44 again. So it is reducing properly. I would format those again. Again, I apologize, I didn't have much coffee. I'll leave a link to the completed worksheet in the description below. If you found this video useful and you haven't done so already, please like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. It really does help the algorithm and helps the channel grow. And also, if you want to follow me, I'll leave my social links in the description below as well. Thank you for watching and have a great day.